Hello, everybody. Welcome to BGH Connect. Today, the first episode. I'm really excited. We're live streaming again. Let me know if there's any issues on your end in the chat, sound, visuals, anything like that. Let me know if there's any issues. But my favorite guest of the day, we are actually have Jack Dunbar. Jack,
Hey,
welcome.
welcome. Thanks for joining the stream. Devin, thanks for having me, man. It's really good to chat with you. Always fun. That little stinger at the beginning of the show got me so hyped. I'm ready to talk board games, man.
Got to have all the hype, man. This is
Yeah.
exciting. We have a lot of people joining in. I appreciate that. If you guys have
Yeah.
any questions for Jack about the campaign, anything like that, please write them in the comments and I will
Yeah.
definitely pop those up. For some reason, it keeps saying Facebook user. I wish there was a way to change that, but
Uh,
it's like the worst thing
yeah.
about live streaming is Facebook user. But I can see on the left side here on Facebook who's actually
Yeah.
saying things. So we'll
Okay.
chat from there. So yeah, thanks everybody. Bob's joining in. Eddie is joining in. Jeff, all of
Hey,
you, welcome. So this is exciting.
amazing. Yeah. Hey, Bob. Hey, Eddie. Hey, Jeff.
So Jack, let's start this thing out, right? I'm
Okay.
excited to have you on. We're going to talk a little bit about New Kingdom Gardeners and then
Yeah.
your company New Kingdom Gaming, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. New Kingdom Gaming. New Kingdom Gardeners is our first title. I actually have a copy right here.
Ah,
There's the
beautiful.
actual box. It's
Look at
it's
you.
exciting, man. When I got these prototypes in, I was so pumped to finally break it open and yeah, see the logo on it. All of the graphic design and art was done by Melissa Murakami, and she's just done an amazing job with that. So but yeah, New Kingdom Gaming's the company. New Kingdom Gardeners is our first title. And kind of the overarching picture here is the mission statement for New Kingdom Gaming is creating biblically inspired games for friends and followers alike. So that's kind of my purpose is all of the games that I plan to publish are, will have some of that biblically inspired theme. Just something that saw as kind of a gap in the market and something that I could fill from my expertise, my experience, and just my interest. I mean, it's something that I'm passionate about. So that's kind of the drive. And New Kingdom Gardeners is the first in a universe of games that are focused specifically on family-friendly themes, family-friendly mechanics. So the aim of this was Gardeners is kind of like it's meant to be the every person's game. Like there's a broad market for it. Families, adults, like you could take it to game night, you could take it to like a church group, you could take it to, the pub and play like some people have done recently. And it will fit all of those settings well. So that's why I decided to lead with this game.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
super fun, and I love how you're actually talking about you can take it to different locations because that's a huge factor for when I'm trying to back games. Is I need to find a game that will match in not necessarily just my play group, but maybe I want to go to the local church or maybe I want to go to the local McDonald's and play a game, and that's
Yeah.
always super cool for me for accessibility purposes.
Yeah.
So yeah, TK says good afternoon, gentlemen, as well, and then Andrew
Hey.
and Eddie says, cannot wait to get my copy of the game.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eddie. So Jack, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How did you get into game design? And anything like that you think we should know about you?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I have had a lot of different jobs, done a lot of different things, and I feel like all of them kind of like intersect in board game design in a cool way. I for the last 7 years, I've been a pastor of a local church here in Spokane, so that's where I am right now. I'm at the church office, and just through that window there are all the chairs and the stage and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, my ministry partner and I planted this church. We've been working in it for the last 7 years, and we've seen some really incredible things happen there. And yeah, during COVID, it coincided with a major job change for me. I was bivocational, so the first like 4 years I was in like professional ministry because I had done ministry before that. I was a youth leader, volunteer. I worked for an organization called Young Life and had some really great experiences there. Met a lot of really great kids and leaders and all of that kind of stuff. And that whole time I was bivocational. I jumped on as the associate pastor here. Started off with I worked for the church for like 20 hours for free for years and years and years, 20, 30, 40 hours, who knows.
Jeez.
And then I worked for an Amazon seller actually. So that's where I kind of got the business acumen to run my own business and eventually shift into what I'm doing now, which is small business accounting. So I'm in a small startup. It's me, my partner, and one employee who I've been training the last month. So kind of like Kickstarter prep plus training her has been like my main focus for the last month. And I'm so excited about the progress she's making and the growth in our business, but also really getting New Kingdom Gaming off the ground. So yeah, I'm basically business guy, church guy, and family guy. Like I'm a very big family person. I try to block out lots of time. Like the beginning and ending of my day always belong to my family. So this morning, despite being like 95% funded, I'm like, you know what? My full focus is with Ruby, my daughter. Get her up, get her ready to go for the day, and make sure that she gets her tank filled so she can carry on her day with that good energy from dad, and kind of,
spread the positivity.
Yeah. so those are the important things to know about me, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Sounds like you're a really good family man and a great dad. So, obviously back this campaign, because Jack just seems like the perfect person all around to do something like this. Chris Stone says, I'm upping my pledge. Let's make this fun while Jack is on the air.
Yeah, that would be awesome, Chris.
And then
Thanks, brother.
DK says, around 10 standard backrest go. If you haven't backed yet, head over and check it out. Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk about the journey leading up to this game. Where did your journey begin? Describe the process up until this point. Like, why did you want to start this? Has this always been your passion? And go forward with that.
Sure. Yeah. So I was an only child growing up. So games were really important to me because they were an excellent opportunity and excuse for me to spend lots and lots and lots of time with friends. So I like when I was in middle school, high school, even elementary school, I was really, really into like collectible card games, board games, all of that stuff, because I just saw it as a great opportunity to get people together and have fun. And, as a kid, I didn't really, think too deeply about it. But as I got to be an adult, I was like, man, as our lives get busier, one of the things I noticed is particularly one thing that happens is like, young men, young women, like in their early 20s, late teens, whatever, there's this growing loneliness issue that's kind of starting because people get so sucked into the digital world or their phones and work. And it's like you move from box to box, like your work box to your iPhone box, right? Yeah. And I thought, one of the ways that I wanted to combat that with my friends when I was working at this tech company was to have game nights once a week. And people loved it. We were on the internet all the time. We would just go home and be alone otherwise. So and in Spokane, like the summers are great, but like the winters are very, very long. So it was really nice to have something to do, and brought people in from work, from my friend group, from like high school, from the ministries I was doing. And it was really, really fun to get to, just get around a table and spend some FaceTime with one another that was really focused and dedicated to relationship and fun. And so for me, board games have always been about community, and I've always been pretty interested in them as a hobbyist. First collectible card games, then board games, and then hobby games in my mid-20s. And when the COVID lockdown started in 2020, I was actually going through a job transition. I was leaving one company, starting at another company, and I had a few weeks off kind of right when the big like shutdowns happened where everything was closed. Remember those like 3 weeks? It was like March or April, and it was like there was
happening.
Yeah, it was like there was nothing happening. And I'm such an extrovert that I started Zooming with like friends, family, all of this stuff. And my best friend is a teacher over on the West Side, and he kind of gave me this challenge, like, hey, have you thought about making a board game? And yeah, and I was just like, no, I've never considered it. And he was like, well, you're always talking about like finding your passion and like doing something with that passion. And to me, from the outside looking in as your friend, I see like you love board games, you love Jesus, and you love, the Bible, and that deeply. Like, what if you put those two together? Because that's what I'm always teaching my fifth graders. Like, the future of jobs is going to be the intersection of two unique things about you, or three unique things about you. And I thought that was really insightful and interesting, and it was just a good challenge, and I wasn't doing anything else. So I sat down and started to design a board game, and that became a game called New Kingdom, which spun off a company and then split into 3 games, actually. And Gardner's kind of started to lead the charge because I just saw all those things I talked about at the beginning of the stream. Like it was accessible. It was simpler than one of the other ones that I was working on. And I just saw a really clear path forward for it. And Gardeners just kind of took off. So
yeah, man, it's so awesome because I remember playing the game a long time ago. And even then I really enjoyed playing the game. And so I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Hey, 1 second.
1 second. Pause.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think we're back.
Yeah. Sorry, we had a chair delivery, so
okay.
Receiving those.
Brief intermission there. We're back. Yeah. So, and as we're live here, Eddie keeps telling us that the numbers they're increasing slightly. So
wow, amazing.
I like to hear that. But yeah, so Brandon, I believe Brandon just said, just backed as a head gardener, first physical game I've ever backed, but I know my family will love it.
Amazing.
Brandon,
thank you.
You are awesome. Thanks for helping out. This is great. I just met Brandon officially for the first time at Protospiel ATL, and great game designer. He has awesome stuff, and him and his wife were just crushing play testing, and it was fun to meet them. But cool, man. Yeah, this sounds like Gardeners really became the game, and I love that you didn't just use New Kingdom. I love how you went New Kingdom Gardeners. It really helps. It opens up design space too, I think, because like future, you could do New Kingdom something else, New Kingdom this, and that's such a great thing. Yeah,
and that's yeah. So that is actually the plan.
Perfect.
I have a slightly heavier weight Euro. Uses a lot of similar mechanics, but some different things as well. Called New Kingdom Builders, and that's actually the game that initially sort of started my design journey. And it's been retooled over time, and I played it recently with a group of people in person, and they were like, "Hey, I like Gardeners, but this is awesome. Like this is deeper, it's longer." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'm just like Gardeners is where I'm starting, and it's a game I love. My wife and I have a ton of fun playing it. It's always 30 minutes. It's very like predictable, standardized. And I recognized as I started designing these two games, the development leg for Gardeners was shorter. It was just, there was an opportunity to fund, to kind of get the momentum started for a company and for IP around New Kingdom. And then that could spin off into other things. So Builders is a project that I'll be working on. And then actually, I started working on a co-op card battler game, similar to like a Marvel Champions sort of thing. And that's going to use some more epic, rich, sort of gritty imagery from the Bible. And I'm really excited to start announcing that. I already have an artist who's doing some pretty amazing work on that game.
Wow, you heard it here first. There's going to be a dueler from New Kingdom. I'm excited because that's my kind of thing. So you just literally hit that in the head for me. So I want to be a playtester of that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that's a completely different product line, and kind of my, like, I'm a big story guy. I'm a big, world building, theme is really, really important to me. And so the New Kingdom line, what I want customers to be able to expect from that is like, this is family friendly. This is like an opportunity for you to share with whoever you want. And then this other line is more like, this is more intense. It's dark, darker imagery, like grittier imagery, like maybe like teens, adults, like fits that sort of like D&D, Magic the Gathering type, like so group fantasy, of people.
Dark fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but one of the things for me is I'm a huge fan of short games. I like quick play times, and Builders kind of like extends that, gets into like a little bit longer play time. But my goal in like setting out new worlds is going to be to create a quick and accessible game that can kind of get you into that theme. And if that's successful, if people are interested in that, we can continue to build on those themes and explore new territory. So
yeah, I love the sound of that. That's exciting to me. Let's go to the couple questions here. I believe it's I just had that one up here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Falk or
Falk? Hi, Falk.
Okay, I was correct. He said, "Hey Jack, what are the next goals in the campaign once you fund?"
Nice.
What is next?
Yeah, great question. So I'm so happy that we're so close to funding. I'm so grateful because it just creates this amazing momentum to continue to build on the business.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to Falk today about like one of the things I'm doing in the background is play testing my other games.
Yeah.
Like funding this just gives me confidence to continue to push forward in the design journey, to work on development, to, you know, share some of those other concepts. And so I'll be working on that in the background. But on the front, and for the Kickstarter campaign for gardeners specifically, there's some great stretch goals coming up on our campaign. For one, we had a little bit of an issue in the prototype with these doves, and I'm going to show these to everybody because you'll see them on screen. But one of the things that, you know, when I initially quoted this, we just had some pretty like some stock components. And I ultimately picked our manufacturer because they had these amazing little dove minis.
Here, let me
What's a source?
let me do this. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, these things are really, really cool. Don't get me wrong, but there are a bunch of issues with plastic. For one, they don't stand up; they fall over. They're kind of fragile. I had a bunch of people saying like, "Hey, that's not really what we want," and I'm going to take the backers' lead on that. And so the thing that we came up with as an alternative is meeples. So one of the things that our first stretch goal will allow is screen printed meeples, and I'm just really excited about the quality of these things. It will replace the cubes and the doves and give a really unified aesthetic. And one of the things that was pointed out to me is for accessibility, these things were tough. They're hard to pick up and move around. And for people with any sort of like manual dexterity, you know, sort of difference of ability, like for them, like picking up the wooden meeples just was a better fit. I have a friend who is in that boat, and she was very helpful in selecting components and thinking through that particular issue. So
Yeah,
really excited to get those wooden meeples in, and to get a wooden first player token, to get that finished. That's going to be really, really nice. We've got some art coming for that. But one of my favorite stretch goals, and one of the things I'm really pushing for, is adding additional cards to the game.
yeah.
Nice. You know, once we hit those funding goals, we'll be able to comfortably do that in the manufacturing bill. Because the funding goal for me is made up of just three things. It's made up of final royalties to my artist and solo designer, who we've got a solo designer now, so that's really exciting. So it's final royalties to my contractors, because that's extremely important. I want to make sure that people are paid for the work that they did, and paid well. So that's one thing that's worked in. Second thing that's worked in is the manufacturing bill. So like that's the major chunk of that funding goal. And then the third thing is some shipping subsidy, so that I can keep the shipping prices as low as possible for people globally. I mean, really, like that 9.5, that's all it does. So when we get to that next stretch goal, just a couple $1,000s more, we'll be able to unlock meeples. That will add to the manufacturing bill, but we'll be able to cover that. And then beyond that, I'll be able to add some additional cards to the mini expansion for the head gardener tier. So right now it's a 10 card expansion. As we continue to unlock stretch goals, that will bump up, you know, potentially up to 15 cards in that expansion to really add some dynamism to the game. Nice. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. Rocky, I think Rocky joined. He said,
hey, Rocky.
And then really like the animated GIF. Good job. So people are really enjoying your campaign page specifically. But before we go into the campaign page, let's give back to the community. You know, that's what we're here about with the Board Game Hype community. And let's discuss, you know, the people behind the scenes that have been helping you. Let's give them shout outs, promote their stuff, their content. But the first thing I want to ask is like, so what piece of advice would you have to someone who is just like really nervous and they're ready to click the green button to launch, but they're not quite there yet? Like, what's the best piece of advice you could give someone to that?
I would say if you're nervous to hit the green button, just take some time. Be patient. Like, you should be excited to hit the green button. Mm-hmm. And I was excited on day one. Like when my finger was hovering over the mouse, I was itching to click that button, but I was like, wait a minute. I got to check in with my partners, make sure everything is cool. I got to say, I've got to pray. I've got to give thanks to the people who have supported me deeply throughout the journey. Like Devin, I had to text you right before we went to say, okay, let's go, let's do this. And just because you've been a huge support for me, you've been a good friend and help throughout the journey, good encouragement, and I'm really grateful. But yeah, I would say if you're at that place where you're like, ah, man, I don't know, I would suggest the best thing you can do for your game, for your business, is be confident. Do whatever it takes to have enough confidence that the nerves are pushed out.
Right.
There's always going to be some nerves. There's going to be the good nerves, though. It should only be good nerves. It shouldn't be the like, oh my goodness, like, are we going to, like, can we do this? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can cut it if we don't fund, or if we barely fund. I haven't thought through those things. If that's driving your nerves, stop. Like, there's no need to push the button. Like, resolve those issues, work on your crowd and community building, get to a place where you really feel like people are excited. I'm excited. I'm confident in what we're offering. I know it's good. I know that the community has had input into it. I would suggest do that work beforehand, so that when it comes time to press the green button, you're all smiles. It's just, come on, let's go. And I was, because on that first hour, we funded, I think, well over $5,000.
Yeah,
And
really.
it was amazing to see just the outpouring of support. And I expected that to happen because I had been talking with these people. We were equally excited. Like, Ben Levy was our first backer. Let's go.
Oh, Ben got it.
Yeah. Yep. So Ben, I know Ben got it.
Wow.
TK was up there for sure. He always is. But yeah, Ben got that first spot.
Wow.
And Ben and I had been chatting. He was a huge support. Zach Rovang as well, Mantle of the Keeper, those guys at Strongbox Games. They've been a huge, huge, huge support, playtesting, development, encouragement, advice. And I just knew, people like Ben, people like Eddie, people like you, Devin, Anthony Diastello. Like, there's a whole group of people behind us that were very excited about this and ready for the launch. Mm-hmm. And that made me feel like when I clicked the green button, I wasn't nervous because I knew I wasn't alone.
Right. Yeah. No, and it goes to show you that if you really build up your community in the right way, the community will help you go forward over your funding goal. I mean, that's why I promote community all the time. I'm like, that is the number one thing, in my personal opinion, that drives campaigns forward. Because you can put the campaign up, click the button, but again, you got to get your people to talk. You got to get your people onto the campaign page and knowing a little bit about it and all this stuff like that. And so let's dive right into that question, because I know this is a huge one. Guy actually asked a question earlier. What pre-marketing did you do before launching? So explain your pre-marketing process, the organic, maybe the paid ads, anything like that. I know Rocky was helping you a little bit with that. So let's talk a little bit all about that.
So I hired Rocky at Funding Freak, and Rocky has done amazing. He had incredible results in the pre-marketing. Great job with the ads, ad copy. Been very, very pleased with everything that Rocky has done. And his team built the Kickstarter page, and it looks phenomenal. And I'm so grateful to you, Rocky. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for the hard work on the back end. But yeah, so hired a partner to help with that. That was great. I hired a consultant in co-publishing and Dragon Egg Games, Max Robbins. Max has been largely behind the scenes on this project, and because he wants to help small publishers fill in the gaps so that they can build a brand and build a business. And Max has been a huge supporter in the background. Great advice. So hiring those two was essential for moving the needle. I started on contract with both of them back in August, and we've been slowly working at stuff behind the scenes, putting together ads, ad copy, strategy. All of that stuff has been essential for, helping us build hype and build a community. One of the limitations for me is I'm a young father. I have a daughter who is 20 months old. And, as we started to move into marketing, like, I was starting to recognize development was closing on gardeners, and it was getting to a place where playtesting was yielding little feedback. It was like, yeah, it's like publish it.
Yeah.
When I started to hit that phase, I realized, okay, time to start marketing. But I'd already been marketing. I'd been playtesting. I'd been, building community in Discord and Facebook and connecting with people, designers, gamers, Christians who are interested in board games, that intersection, gamers who have families, like those intersections. There were places where, and it was largely through the internet. And I know one of the big things that people promote is conventions, but I was recognizing I didn't want to be away from my family. It's just too important a value for me. And, everybody is different. Like, for some people, going and traveling is like really an important piece of their life. And the convention scene is amazing. And one day I hope to, get a little bit plugged in. But just for my stage of life and the things that were important to me in the last year and a half, I really deprioritized conventions and said, this I know would be a really great way that I could meet people. I could get the word out, all of that. But I really moved into a digital space for that and said, the internet will allow me to connect with like-minded people of similar interest. And there are lots of different ways to do that. So I focused pretty heavily there in the last year and a half pre-marketing, just connecting with people from different churches, different board game interest groups, some of the major ones like Board Game Design Lab, Board Game Revolution, the Board Game Group. All of those places have been good places to meet people. Board Game Hype, of course, like all of these communities have been excellent springboards to relationship. And one of the things that I've tried to do is, I'm chatting with somebody in comments, DM them, be like, hey, what's your story? Who are you? Like want to join Discord and play test together and stuff like that. And that's just been a really fun way to connect with people. I met a lot of really awesome people over the last few years. And I knew I had to take a very intentional approach because I wasn't going to be doing things like conventions or trade shows. And so I was going to miss that FaceTime. And so I had to make up for that FaceTime elsewhere.
Yeah. And that goes right into kind of like my next question is, play testing. I know the Crowdfunding Nerds podcast just put out, Andrew Lowen and them, Sean Bradford just put out the playtesting is marketing, and 100% correct. You don't need, like I'm a huge fan of organic marketing, and playtesting alone was kind of like the key piece of that. It's like, hey, let's go help others to then, ultimately long term, hopefully they'll be like, hey, do you have a game too? Maybe let's help you, decide if your playtesting works as well. And I think that's one of the better ways to do is just by helping other people. And I think that's why our board game community is flourishing,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Evan Halbert and I do a live stream called Playtest This. I've co-hosted with him, but Evan has really he's been there for every single episode. He's been consistent with Playtest This.
He's a genius,
and,
by the way.
Yeah. And Evan's an amazing game designer and person and friend. And we started off doing Playtest This just because it was like, we like playing games together. We like playtesting. We love giving feedback. And we were like, maybe if we, televise this, for lack of a better word, stream it, right? Like we can help people, like we can get, and that was really the only focus. It wasn't like maybe one day this will turn into a huge, I just want to, give back to the community that's given so much to me. And one of the gaps I realized is playtesting. Like a lot of people struggle with playtesting. They're not sure how to do it, where to find people, how to run a session. And so Playtest This was just an opportunity for us to showcase all of that. And
almost like a training in a way too.
Yeah.
Like top of the playing, you are showing other designers and stuff how to play test a game.
Yeah. I mean, every single time I listen to Evan's feedback, I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice that, I wasn't. So like I was learning as a designer and playtester myself, like how to be better by doing those. So yeah, I mean, giving back to the community is huge. I think like when you serve people just to serve people, like that's the best foundation for relationship. It's just, I just want to do this because I believe that I believe in like the value and dignity of humanity. And I have my reasons for believing that because of my faith. Right. But I need to walk it out in the way that I, present myself in community. And it is just a natural outflowing to say like, if I can help you, let me help you. So I've been really trying to do that. And that's where some of my best relationships have come from. Like I have this Sunday playtest group that's made up of Evan, Trevor Olson, Chris Stone, Jason Gertzen, and we've and Matthew Cambrick, who recently joined our group, and we playtest each other's games. And we all come from kind of different walks of life, different areas of the country, but we're friends. We enjoy spending time together, and we can stack hands on that idea of just helping each other advance our games and like putting better games out into the market. So
awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. And I think it's probably about time that we get to the game.
Okay.
And so I'm going to hop over to I'm going to have the screen up here.
Ooh, actually, Devin, before we get to that, because you did mention them, I do want to give a huge shout out to the Crowdfunding Nerds, to Andrew Lowen, Sean Bradford. Those guys have been so incredibly helpful. Their podcast, their course, their Facebook community. Like the crowdfunding nerds have been so supportive. Andrew is actually, this is really funny, but he was the first game designer that I connected with when I went to the internet. Because I was like, oh, this Deliverance game looks kind of interesting. And it was just like a timing thing. So I reached out to Andrew. I was like, hey, you created a Christian board game. I'm kind of interested in that. Do you know if there are other designers on Facebook or like ways to connect? And it was just so funny. He's like, huh. Yes, I
Yeah.
actually do know. And
Right.
so Andrew has been with me like since day one, huge supporter, good friend. And I'm really, really grateful for what they're doing over there. I actually have an episode coming out with Crowdfunding Nerds on selling on Amazon pretty soon. So
Oh,
if you're a
okay.
board game designer, I really encourage you to, check that out when it comes out. I worked for an Amazon seller, one of the biggest in the country for several years. So, I mean, I feel like personally, like my perspective on this, like God put me there and like taught me some things that maybe I can give back to other people. So that's why I did that episode. And hopefully it's helpful for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. I love their podcast, and yeah, Ben and I were on their podcast a while ago. I'm no longer helping moderate the community, but I mean they're still a valuable asset, and I listened to each episode. But yeah, less than $300 to go. It looks like we're
Nice. Come
almost
on.
there. We're at 9231 currently as we're speaking.
I
So
love it.
let's jump over to the campaign now. Now that we've got that, and I'm kind of I'll ask some questions. I'm not going to necessarily like ask specifics because you can go to the campaign page. But the first thing I kind of want to ask is just like, can you go over your idea of biblically inspired? I know me personally, I'm not religious, but in
Yeah.
general, but I'm really curious to know like what a biblically inspired board game looks like and how you, because I've played your game and I definitely felt really good about playing the game. And it didn't feel like you were trying to push it onto me. And I really appreciate that about the game system. And I think you have elements in there that really balance it well. So can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this was extremely important to me. And I agonized over words, because I'm a pastor. I'm like, I got like theology in my head and that gets in the way sometimes. But the reality is like biblically inspired just seemed like the right word for me because the reality is the Bible is the theme. It's the source book from which like all of this stuff and this inspiration is pulled. But I wanted to be, for the Christian community, I wanted to be faithful to that. And I wanted to be respectful and reverent. And I wanted also to, as best as I could, exemplify the teachings and the characters of the Bible in my games and also in my company. But I also really want these games to be accessible to people who know nothing about the Bible, maybe don't even have an interest in the Bible. That's okay. Maybe they can pick up the games and really enjoy them because of their rich and deep theme. That is something that I was really focused on because I love my brothers and sisters in Christ, right? I'm a Christian. I love that community. I want them to have games that they can be proud of and that they can play with their friends. But I also love gamers. I am a part of this community and I want them to be able to pick up this game and be proud to show it to their friends and family and not like embarrassed or pressured in any way by the content of the game. So I want it ultimately to, raise interest in the Bible in a way that people are like, oh, this is cool theme. But there's no pressure in the game. And that was something I really wanted to remove from like anything that I design. So biblically inspired is a word that I use intentionally because the source material is Bible, right? And the theme is biblical, but it's not what I would call a Christian game, and that like it's not intended to educate about Christian principles. Now it may, and if it does, that's really cool. I hope that it exemplifies Christian life and all of that kind of stuff well, but it's not intended to do that. And it's also not biblical in that like there's no scripture references or addresses to the Bible, because I felt like that could be a hang up for people who aren't familiar with the Bible. Like you read a card and it says, Matthew 10:24, like which I don't even know what that verse is off the top of my head. So if it's something crazy, I'm like out of context, don't worry. But 10:24, like, what does that even mean? Like, what do I do with this? I didn't want people to feel alienated by anything in the game. So I want them to feel like, oh, I can read this flavor text and understand what it means. So that was a really intentional decision on my part.
The student is not above the teacher, nor a servant above his master.
There you go. I like that.
Um, cool. Yeah. No, I really appreciated that because I was very hesitant myself because I think I remember playing the first time. I was like, I don't know. I'm a little worried about it. And man, the more I played it, I was like, okay, I can totally see this. There was just subtle things in there for me that it really worked. And
Mhm.
even just like the subtlety of the doves being such a representative symbol, and like I thought you did that extremely well, and having the thorns in there too was just like it was really flavorful. And so I think you definitely hit the mark on those that are definitely like not religious, and I think you hit the mark for those who are religious as well. So you did a really good job with that.
Thanks,
um,
Devin. And a note on that, like because that was important to me, I made sure to ask both sides.
mm,
Like whenever I was playtesting with non-Christian, I asked them, people who like are not part of that community or belief system. I asked them like, how does this game strike you? Are there any hangups? Do you have problems with anything? And really tried to listen to that feedback and understand, where it's coming from and filter it and say like, okay, is this something that I'm hearing frequently? Is this something that's like very important? And like, I definitely want to listen to everything that people had to say. And then
mm.
on the Christian side, same thing. Said, hey, is this faithful? Do you feel like this exemplifies your faith well? Do you think that this is faithful to like what we as Christians try to be and aspire to be in the world? And listening to both sides of that feedback was really, really crucial in crafting the message and the design of the game.
Yeah, that kind of goes like I'm very curious then. So, like, as far as your content creators, how did you pursue these content creators? Because I know not all of them would really, be really good for this product. And so, how did you kind of narrow down who you wanted to do? Was there a specific process, or just tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I reached out to Lance. And the reason I reached out to Lance was that Lance at Love to Hate and Sam, they do these incredible videos. And I felt that their channel was a really good fit for the mechanisms of my game, for
Mm,
the type of game that it is. It is a bridge between gamers and non-gamers. I really want it to be that. And so Lance was a crucial person for me in connecting to the exact audience that I wanted to hit. So that was a huge reason for reaching out to Lance. Um, One thing that was really important to me was ensuring that people in the UK and EU had access to this game. So for one, I partnered with GamesQuest, but for two, I partnered with some UK-based creators. One is Simon Lavender of Amass Games, and Simon just has a really great personality. He's a really fun and charming and nice guy. He's been very helpful, but he was a referral from GamesQuest. I said, if this is what people in the US or in the UK want to see, I want to make sure that this game, just like, and this gets into like some of my like thoughts about just the world and how things work. Like the kingdom of heaven is not one nation or one people or one tongue, right? And so like I want board games to be the same way. Like if you live in, the UK, the EU, if you speak a different language than English, like I would love for you to be able to play this game. So and one of the things that doesn't show up anywhere on the Kickstarter page that I should mention actually and talk about a lot more is we have language translations in the works in the background. So there will be PDF versions of the rule book in different languages. And my goal is to produce in as many languages as possible over time. But to start, we'll definitely have German, French, Spanish, and the Russian language, which is really important for like my church community in particular has a lot of people of Russian and Ukrainian ancestry, and if they want to play with their friends, like people in my immediate community, they'll need Russian language. So that's integrated and will be through PDFs. So
Yeah, I know language is, that's kind of like a tough cookie in itself. Trying to get
yeah,
the language localizations and stuff like that. I know it's really a long process. So I like to tell people, it's not going to happen instantly. The languages
yeah.
take a while to translate, and just try and be patient when Jack's doing this because it's not going to necessarily happen, in a blink of an eye. But
Yeah, and one thing that's really important to say is like there won't be any printed components in different languages. The printed components will be English, but there will be rules and card set in native languages, so of different kinds. So that will just help. One of the things that I was told by people, particularly in the EU, is like, we're pretty comfortable using English for the most part, but it really helps to see like a reference, maybe even one time, and we can apply that to, multiple cards or whatever, which is very much the case for this game. So that, after consulting with several people, just seemed like the best way to go for that.
Awesome. Yeah, let's talk about the pledges just really quickly. Let's do like a high level overview about like the different pledges and why you did certain things in them. I know we have the Gardener pledge here and the Head Gardener pledge. So just go ahead and talk about those two really quickly.
Sure. Yeah. So the Head Gardener pledge will include all of the components to play the game. That's, you're getting the base game at the Gardener pledge, and you get access to the pledge manager, and you get print and play files. Then in the Head Gardener pledge, you get everything in the base game, plus unlocked stretch goals, plus the mini expansion. Now, this mini expansion was something I have been working on for just about a year and a half now. So kind of as the main development of the game sort of wound down, I started thinking about, additions we could make to the game, but there was such a tight game loop already, and it was really hitting the weight and complexity level that I wanted. But I knew and was frequently hearing some stuff from people like, hey, I want the game to be longer, maybe a little bit more complex. And so I started development on this expansion material. And it really is, in the last year and a half, has come to a place where it's really tight. It's playing very consistently. And I'm excited to release that. And Melissa's working on the art for it now. So we'll have more and more art to display for the expansion as the game goes on, as the campaign goes on.
Awesome. Yeah. And you talked about Pledge Manager. Who are you using for that?
Well, right now I'm debating. I'm kind of between two, but
Okay.
I'm leaning really heavily towards GameFound. And the reason I am is I'm very much planning to use GameFound on future campaigns. I really want to try them out. I really want to support them and the community building that they're doing. So I think by using my pledge manager on GameFound, I'll get a little bit of the experience with GameFound, and then I can make a more informed decision on whether I want to pursue, Kickstarter for future projects or GameFound, and if I want to, make that transition. But I figured that this would be an easy way to sort of explore both.
Yeah, I think GameFound's doing a really good job, and their pledge manager is really easy to use. The credit system, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of, but like long term, I know there's things changing in the works that'll be a lot better for that.
The credit system is confusing, right?
Yeah,
but I don't know. I just try to remind myself, like, this means nothing. It's all dollars.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these pledges. I know becoming a worker and a gardener is kind of exciting. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is there is an art book that's attached to the Head Gardener pledge, and that's a really exciting feature because Melissa did these full illustrations, and the way that the card layout sits on the card, sometimes it cuts off like feet of characters, and so you get like more of a full picture of the full illustrations that Melissa did for the book. Or for the game. And so the book will, showcase her art more completely, because her art, I think, is such a beautiful addition to the game.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it will do for people who are interested, I know that this is particularly interesting for Christians, is like, who are these characters? Where'd they come from? Like, I'm very familiar with the Bible. I like to try to guess who these people are. And this will kind of, reveal that secret, like where these characters, like where the inspiration comes from for these characters. And for those people who, are not Christian, but may still be interested in that, like they can go to the art book to see some detail about that. Like, oh, this worker, for instance, is based on like Peter, one of Jesus's disciples. So just for people to get a sense of like what the art comes from and like how it was inspired.
Awesome. Yeah. How many pages is the art book, roughly?
We're still working that out because there's some flexibility with the manufacturing.
Got it.
On that. And so we're kind of torn between whether it'll be like 12, 16, but it'll be somewhere in that range.
Cool. Yeah, I love art books personally, and just having that little bit of flavor too. Art book is going to be like the best place for you also to just like put more lore into it, because
exactly.
don't necessarily need all of that lore, fancy stuff, but some really want to dive deep into the theme, and I think that's a great way to do that. So
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, and to explain the actions a little bit too, like what does it mean to prune? Like pruning is like removing
Right.
something bad, right? Like
Yeah.
just little things like that. But yeah, the become a worker / gardener pledge is something I'm really excited about. So we sold out of those on the first day, like within a couple hours.
Yeah, I saw
So
that. I saw that you launched it, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna go right away." That's
yeah,
gonna go.
so I quickly added some extra ones because the mini expansion has cards called gifts, and what gifts do is they add a little bit of weight and complexity to the game because essentially they're a little bit like a tool card in that you equip it to a
Weight, as in
worker.
like thinking, right? Like strategic weight. You're talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, exactly. Not physical weight, like
Yeah,
it's
just
not
to
going to
clarify
increase
for people,
shipping.
not gonna be
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah. Your shipping will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it adds a little bit of that like that BGG weight, that complexity.
Got it. Okay.
Um, and the gifts are an opportunity to add more backers' faces to the game. So
Mm.
we were kind of debating on that. Like we talked about doing them artistically as silhouettes, and that's how Melissa has built them. But it's very easy for her to go in and do character illustrations. So we expanded that out and said, if you want to be in the game, you can still be in the game as a gift, as a character on a gift card. So
Nice.
there are 5 currently that have been purchased, and then there are 9 still that can be backed. So one of those is a gardener, and then 8 of those are gifts, and those will be kind of assigned first come first serve.
Yeah, I'm really waiting for you got to have a pair of glasses Easter egg in there somewhere. I'm waiting
Yeah.
for a pair of glasses to show up in one of the cards.
Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah. So another thing about that pledge tier is it's $2.99, but it includes 2 copies of the head gardener pledge. So really, you're paying $200 to have your face in the game, plus then you're paying, basically $100 for 2 games.
Awesome. Yeah, and then of course you have the retail pledge and the worker pledge and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, I think when you're moving, it's cutting in and out.
Okay, sorry. I'll stop wiggling. Yeah, so the worker pledge is print and play. I'm going to work with a print and play designer to have those compiled. And then the retail pledge is $100. So the print and play files, a lot of people asked about the pricing on those. And I want the pricing for print and play not to be prohibitive. But also there's like an art to pricing. And this is a little bit of back end stuff. If it was at a certain level, you have to like cut out add-ons, because there's a way that you can do like this kind of like trick where you pledge at print and play and then you add on a game and then it's cheaper than the base pledge. And I wanted to make the pricing as low and as consistent and as simple for people as possible, so they didn't have to think about like, am I getting a good deal here or not? Is somebody else undercutting me with one of the other pledge options? And so I removed all of that by making the pricing what it is.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to ask that question, so I'm glad you reached out and talked about that. And here, I wonder who this guy is.
Devin Mellon. Yeah.
Drafting mechanism and subtle references. This game is a true delight for players of all backgrounds. And I kind of talked about that earlier, and I thought it was that I'm still true to the word there. So yeah, and why back? So let's the last thing we'll talk about this. Yeah. So like who should back your game? Like why is this game for them, and what makes your game unique as opposed to the other ones out there?
Yeah, so I think there are, broadly speaking, sort of 3 people that would really be interested in this game. One is really devout Christians who are interested in games that they want to play either with their family or that they want to play with friends, that they don't need to worry about any of the content being offensive or being like challenging their values in any way. Like that's a great group. So so Christians who are interested in playing with other Christians, or that's one element. Another one is I think gamers who are very interested in deeply thematic games. So if you're interested in a game where the theme and mechanisms tie, that has been a huge focus of the design of this game. Simon attested to that, I think, in the quote at the very top of the page. The theme and mechanics mesh in a way that I think creates a really rewarding experience for gamers. So if you're a gamer who's into that sort of thing, you're looking for something where you can really get immersed in the theme in a very short period of time, this is a great game. And then I think the third type of person who really, really enjoy this game is somebody who's looking for a bridge either to non-gamers, or who's looking for a bridge between people who would be like uncomfortable, with some anything that would be like dark, violent, gory, vulgar. Like it doesn't have any of that stuff. It's a very the theme is meant to be very family friendly, accessible to people of all ages, and to also be accessible to people, of varying different interests. So you could play this game with a number of groups of people. And I think that that's really important for those of us who see games as kind of like bridge building opportunities. Like this is a game that is relatively quick to teach and play, and can be played multiple times in a night. It can be used as filler for a larger game. It can be like the flexibility of the design makes it one that I think it belongs in a collection, because it's one of those games where it's like, okay, I have this group of people coming over. I love games. I don't know if they love games, or like, I know we're going to play games, and like there's this one person who's not really a gamer or whatever. You go through your short list, right? Of like, okay, there are like 5 things I could pull off my shelf. And this, I'm hoping, can earn one of those prized spots in a collection where it's like, this is a game I could break out and I could really play it with just about anybody. So that's my goal with it, is to for those who know how games can work for community building, that they would use the game to do that.
Awesome.
For those gamers interested in the theme, and then for Christians who are really excited about Christian content, I really hope that this delivers for you. So those are the three elements.
Awesome, man.
Like avatars of customers, I guess.
Yeah, the customer avatars. That's what I was going for. So I'm glad you got there.
Yeah.
So we're about done here. But before we go into the final, outro, I am actually everyone that's here. There's still 9 people watching. So thank you all so much for watching. And to reward you guys for watching, I think you kind of probably thought I was going to do this, but I'm going to be giving away a game. It's not the New Kingdom game, but just because I didn't talk with you beforehand. But
Oh, that's okay.
I'm going to be giving 1 copy of Small Islands from Lucky Duck Games. So if you want to enter the giveaway, go ahead and type island below, and everyone that types island, I will definitely go ahead and put that in, and and I will draw, and if you win, I will send you a message directly. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, while you guys are typing island in the chat, that's really exciting. Let's go back over finally just the final steps here. So give us the plug. Tell us where you can find everything, the socials, the BGG, how can that work? How can people help you? The QR code to the campaign is below. But yeah, give us the plug.
Absolutely. So New Kingdom Gardeners is a 2 to 4 player game. It's a light tableau building game. It's designed for friends and followers of Jesus alike. So if that's something that would be interesting to you, if you are a Christian interested in a game that you can trust, I really have prayed and think that this game will deliver on that. If you are a gamer looking for a deep thematic experience, I think this game delivers there. If you're looking for one of those games you can use as bridge for community building, I really hope that this game is something that fits your collection in that regard too. So that's kind of my plug. As far as connecting with me, I love connecting with people. I love connecting with you backers. Very, very interested in meeting you. Please reach out to me on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook, so I'm usually there a little bit every day. So that's just one of my little commitments, is like, okay, I check my phone, I do a little bit of Facebook, and then that's it. I have, like a Facebook habit in my life, which is like, I need to do it a little bit. It's very good for community. And then I'm out. So you can connect with me on Facebook Messenger, and you can connect with me on Discord. That's if you want to connect for development of games and get involved in play testing, Discord's the place for that. And because Discord, the way that it shares and stuff, you can connect through my landing page. So if you're just like, I just want to connect in all of the ways, go to the landing page. It's the best place. So newkingdomgaming.com/gardeners. That will get you to the landing page for the game, and you can click all the social buttons. You can find a link to Discord. You can sign up for emails. signing up for emails at this stage is still going to be important, because for future games and, as our company builds, that mailing list is going to be one of my primary means of communicating with people. So those are all the ways to connect with me. And one of the things I would really encourage any of you out there, if you're a gamer, love to hear about games, would love to connect with you, would love to get you involved in playtests for our community, but would also like to help you find games that fit you. And then if you are a game designer, I want to help you. Like one of the things I was thinking about, I was talking with my wife about this last night. She was like running all the scenarios. Like, what if we don't fund? I'm like, we're gonna fund. What if we barely fund? Like, oh, that's fine. We'll send the games to people. That's exciting.
Right.
What if we like massively overfund? Like, oh, I've got plans. We were like running through all of this stuff last night, and I was thinking, what this is like ultimately, like this is kind of like a college education. It's been like 3 years designing a game, a year of like preparing for Kickstarter, and it was a cheap college education if you look at it that way. So I've learned a lot. I'd love to share if I can help you. So feel free to reach out to me in any of those media, and I'll get back to you when I can.
Heck yeah, that is so awesome. Well, geez, this was a great live stream. Looks like everyone's engaged. We're chatting up a
It's amazing.
We got to scan over to it. We're at 9309. So you are so close.
Man, it's happening. It's going to happen today.
I really hope so, man. I'm honored. I'm pretty honored to be able to, help jump you on a live stream here and get some people in the community. So
Devin, thank you so much. I mean, live streaming with you right now is helping bump us closer to our funding goal, and that's amazing. One of the things I'm really hoping, like all that it takes to fund at this point is someone to want to be in the game. Just add your face to the game. So that's like, I keep thinking about that. Like that would be so cool. Because I would like to see more of that. Like I'd like to see more of the community and embrace the reality. Because here's one of the things about New Kingdom that's so important: is the kingdom is an invitation, and there's a place for everybody there. And the characters of the game really exemplify that. And I want more of that. So I want to see your face in the game.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna be signing off here. I'll be jumping up the BGH logo and everything to sign off. But before next week, next Thursday, we're actually gonna have, I believe, Daryl Johnson on, and we're going to chat about her games, I'm Right, You're Wrong, and how she started her company and how she's getting into retail and everything like that. So thank you, everybody, so much. We'll talk to you later, and let's go fund gardeners, okay?
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, everybody. It was such a pleasure to be on the stream with you, Devin. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll talk to you later.
All right.